Good morning, everyone. I'll take care of some housekeeping business as people are still kind of filtering in from the back and milling around a little bit. The first thing is you have two separate packets. One packet has slides on it. That's for you to be able to take notes on. The second packet is what I use to teach by, which is some dialectical behavioral therapy and some explanation. This is going to be a real shortened version of that because it takes 6 weeks to teach each segment of DBT to clients, but you're going to get an overview of that. So again, one packet is for slides and the other packet is for teaching, and it's also something that you can use if you have clients with also. I happen to like being able to take home something that I'm actually then able to use with my clients, and so that's why I do it this way. The housekeeping, again, since some more of you came in, you have two packets. One is actually going to follow the slide presentation, and the other packet is a teaching packet that I put together so that people can have something to take home with them that can actually be useful, because the slides aren't going to be very useful for you when you get home, but actually the teaching packet may be useful for some of your clients if you have clients that you're working with. My name is Debra Meehl. I'm the president and the founder of the Meehl Foundation, and I had been a paramedic for 10 years when I married an absolutely wonderful man who then 18 months later was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. By the time he was diagnosed, he had suffered for about 25 years with bipolar disorder, and he had never gotten treatment. He was obviously extraordinarily energetic at times, followed by long periods of depression. His family is a family of alcoholics, and they don't have any mental illness in their family at all. They're only alcoholics. So when my husband was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, that was a diagnosis that they all rejected. He was supposed to be more ambitious when he was depressed, and of course he wasn't supposed to be so lazy. He was to pull himself up by his bootstraps, and he was to go forward in life. By the time he was diagnosed, he had 8 out of the 9 criteria for borderline personality disorder, because remember, personality disorders are actually maladaptive coping mechanisms, aren't they? That's how we know and describe personality disorders. The only part that he did not have was he was not a cutter, and he did not do anything to actually take his own life. But of the other criteria, he met all of that criteria. So in that first 18 months that we were together, I can tell you that when he finally got a diagnosis, he actually had, of that 8 criteria, we were all extraordinarily concerned, obviously. We went to one of the leading MD PhDs in our area. We were in Arizona at the time, and he talked about having concentration issues, and so she put him on Ritalin. Now, Ritalin for somebody that's bipolar is like the best cocaine ever. So, and he liked it. He liked Ritalin a lot. Boy, did it give him pep in his step, right? So, and then he went back. We actually went together, and she gave him more Ritalin, and he liked it even more. And the third time she increased his Ritalin, he actually had a psychotic break. If it had not been for a really good therapist in our area, I wouldn't be here telling this story today, because he went to that therapist after a road rage incident with me in the car, and he had collapsed on the bathroom floor, and I called Doc, who was a personal friend of ours, and I said, "We're in trouble." And he goes, "Yeah, I thought maybe so." And I said, "So what do I do?" And he goes, "Hand him the car keys and tell him to come to my house." And I said, "Okay, but I'm not getting in the car with him." And he goes, "No, just hand him the keys, he'll get here." And so he drove to his house, and he called the MD PhD that had misdiagnosed him and said, "You know, what I'm looking at is absolutely bipolar." She did the one right thing. She placed him on Lamictal. And 3 days later, he came up to me in the kitchen, and he said, "I know I need to apologize for something, but I'm not really sure what." And later through therapy, we found out that he has about 18 months of complete dissociation where he doesn't remember anything. He doesn't remember birthdays, he doesn't remember our anniversary, he doesn't remember Christmas, he doesn't remember anything. So when people tell you that they have that experience of being out of their body, I want you to know that that's absolutely accurate. And what I was determined to do at that point, because I'm fairly tenacious, was to figure out what it is that could actually make people better. And so DBT therapy has been around for a while. It's extraordinarily popular on the East Coast and the West Coast, but I can tell you in the middle of the United States, they're still really lacking in therapists. So DBT helped him regulate his emotions and get a hold of his, what in AA we call our stinking thinking. And I can tell you that he doesn't meet any of the criteria for borderline personality disorder now. And he is stabilized on his medication, and DBT was a big, big component in making that happen. We later then became an Amen affiliate. We're an Amen brain healthy treatment program, and so most of our clients gets what's called SPEC imaging. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that and why I believe it's incredibly important. I realize SPEC imaging is still very controversial, and I realize that not everybody can do it, but when they can do it, I believe that this makes a really, really big difference in people's lives. And I believe that it's a procedure that's eventually going to be very, very helpful. So up to date, there's been about 80,000 SPEC images done by the Amen Clinic. And it's like, well, do you have to get a SPEC image? I mean, can't a psychiatrist figure it out? The answer is yes. I have talked to really good psychiatrists who said, absolutely, we can figure it out, but you can't do that in a 15-minute visit. And that's what's happening is, again, when you get a SPEC image, it's one day to get the image, and it's an hour-and-a-half history-taking event. The second day you get a concentration, what's called a concentration SPEC image, and the third day you meet with the psychiatrist for 2 hours. Yeah, so it's pretty intensive, so when you walk out of that particular session, you have a treatment plan that's absolutely comprehensive. So that being